This is where I love to butt in.
Guess you can't lose it, I can never find.
I also think that great advice gets lost if it's the wrong time.
Dialogue over drama?
Hey kids, welcome to Dialog Over Drama, episode 77. I am Dialogue Danny.
I'm Courtney Drama.
We are a Canadian couple who have an age gap relationship where our podcast is kind of us just having conversations about deeper topics. We'll be known to leave fights in and kind of reanalyze fight. Our goal is to understand each other and just constantly communicate and figure out what's best for the other person. So normally we do games in here, but Courtney sucks at a game we used to play called Finish the Line. And I guarantee you I could put finish the and she would not know what the last word was.
I was really bad at that game. Like, really bad.
And it's very frustrating, so we don't have any games. Anyways, I have some idea. We're going to do a little...
If all you said was just guess the movie... Guess the movie. You don't need to know the line or the story because you don't pay attention to shit, but just guess the movie. And all I had to do was listen to a line. I'd be like, oh, that's that movie.
Okay, let's do this.
Because you have to admit, I did know the majority of the movie.
Okay, you know what? We'll do this. We're going to have an improv game. Okay, you need to not be looking, and we're going to do this. Okay, here we go. Eyes closed. You tell me what this scene is.
Scene or movie?
Just tell me the name of the movie.
We're gonna get a little place.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah, we're gonna get a little place, and we're gonna have
a cow, some pigs. We're gonna have maybe a chicken. Down the flat, we'll have a little field.
feed the alfalfa for the rabbits.
The rabbits.
And I get to tend the rabbits.
Oh, it's fucking,
See? I told you.
I know the movie. Where the word where is in it. Where...
I told you.
That tall
I shut
guy.
it off. You can open your eyes now. See, I told you. Like, you're like, I can say the movie.
I know
and it's
the
such an
movie.
iconic... No, you don't.
Yes,
you just
I
said
do.
where. Where's not the title.
No, it's, oh my gosh. I know the fucking movie. I can see it.
Can you name any of the actors?
Super tall guy.
Oh, yeah, the tall guy. Oh, yeah, that guy. That guy's great. Didn't he win a Grammy?
With the rabbits, the wild, and he's special needs, and he kills somebody, and
Of Mice and Men.
mice and men. And what's his
right.
name?
Cyrus
John,
the Virus.
John
Malkovich.
Yeah, that's who I meant.
Yeah.
He's in it.
Yeah. See, you're terrible. Like, don't say, yeah, I can do this movie. Yet you're the first person when we're watching. I've seen this movie. All right. Okay. Goodbye. We're changing the channel.
Well, I think I just lost my mind. I guess you can't lose it, I can never find.
Oh boy, do we have a fun one. I'm making light of it, but it's probably not going to be something I should be making light of. So, I'll let you start.
Okay. Well, it was funny. We went to lunch today, and I said to you, it's been about a week since this whole ordeal happened. A little over a week. And I wanted to kind of actually talk about it because I've been trying to process a lot of it. And I tend to process things better when I talk it out with you, especially when I'm coming from an open mindset, because I'm like, these are the things I think I'm feeling, but I want to know what you're feeling. Also because of the topic where I've always, I guess, thought incorrectly on how you feel about certain things or have misunderstood you and also have led you wrong.
Or plain just weren't listening.
Or that too. Yeah. So I think now as like time has passed and we've had some more real conversations about this topic, and then last week we just talked about values. You wanted to tie in some scenarios with my values for the recent thing that happened, which was I was like uber late on my period, like about a week. And I'm never late.
Which is very rare, yeah.
Super, super rare. Like at most, a day. Like, oh, my app is off by a day or two. Or I logged it wrong the previous month. But like a full-on week was very, very odd. So I kind of like touched on it lightly in the beginning. Like, oh, I think I said like around day 2. I was like, yeah, I'm like 2 days late.
That was lightly, because I remember that being very different. You were like, I'm super stressed and it's because of this.
Well, okay. There was, at one point, maybe I did just drop it lightly, and then I got to that point, and then I got to the, hey, I'm at like day 5 or 6 now, or like a week, and then we had like talked about it, and then, funny enough, mid-tattoo appointment, got my period. So, full 7 days later. But yeah, I think the conversation that we had prior, because if it hadn't happened within like a couple of days of that conversation, I was going to take a test. But yeah, that's kind of what
my
happened.
reaction to it.
Yeah, the whole thing I'm just processing. So I don't know how we're tying this into values, so I'll let you kind of take it away from there. But I don't know.
So here, it was my examples when it came to values, because you talk about how you have all these values of what it would mean to be pregnant and what it would be to be like, okay, we're going to have a kid. And a lot of it is you don't want to make a full decision on like whether you want to have a kid, even though I'm sitting back being like, if it happens, it happens. Cool. I'm excited. Yeah. And I've always felt this way, and I've always had that level ground.
Well, I know you say that, but then I think for me, it's like, oh, if it happens, it happens. But like even in how it could have potentially happened when I was like late was still very, like, we don't have to get super into detail, but it was still very weird because we're not active, like we're not trying. No. That's the other thing. So I think for me that whole decision comes down to like you saying, oh, if it happens, it happens. It's because we're trying. And then if it happens, it happens. But if,
no,
like,
because we've spent so much time talking about kids that we've had so many of the scenario of like, if you were pregnant, this is what you're going to be like, regardless of how it happens.
All of my scenarios of like, this is what our,
And I've always said, for sure, this is how I'm going to react, no matter what.
Yeah.
So you've never fully
accepted that answer?
Accepted that answer.
Yeah.
And you always stand on these goal things.
Well, in these scenarios of like, if we were trying, then my thought is you're on board, and when it happens, it's going to be exciting. That's what I've told myself. And then with obviously like the economy and like money and scheduling and things just being super stressful, if it happened in my brain, I was expecting a different result of like, we can't right now. This is not the time right now. And so I think because
coming from me?
In my head, this is the
coming
answer.
From me.
This is the answers I'm expecting coming from you. So then when that wasn't the case and I got the answer I got.
Which was? Cool. Awesome.
And
that'd be exciting.
And I think seeing when I would expect a negative response because of the situation that like we were kind of in and the way life was going and conversations that we've had, reality hit so quick. And that's why I said like it was kind of what to me felt like a pregnancy scare, because it was scary, because it was like reality where it's like deep down in my heart, I know that I want a kid and I know that I want to grow this life and family. And I feel like it'd be such a cool addition to us. Right? Like there's so many pros to it. And of course there's always going to be cons. There's always going to be things that I don't know and that are scary and whatever. And I think because in my mind, I try to have everything so agenda based and timeline and planned. And I know I play every scenario because that's just anxiety of something unknown.
Right.
I want to be fully prepared. That moment was when I realized that even as much as I wanted to believe I was prepared, I'm not prepared.
Right.
I'm not like just because I want something doesn't mean I'm going to be fully prepared for it. Like, and like I said to you during lunch today, when I said I wanted to have this conversation, was everything that people always say, like, oh, just you'll never be prepared. You'll never have enough money. Oh, you'll never this. Just do it. It really hit me where I was like, oh my God, like, okay, that value of actually wanting a kid, that's the thing I've been processing now for the last week, where I'm like, that has stood in front of every therapy session, every high ground I've stood on, every scenario I've played in my head, the actual like feeling of it, because that's all I heard in my head was everyone saying like, you'll never be prepared. And I was like, oh my God, that's the advice I actually now believe.
Right.
Where I'm like, my want for the child has now surpassed these fucking made up scenarios of being planned in my head.
But this is where I want to tie it back into what was last week when it comes to the values.
Yeah.
Is a lot of my values are tried, tested, and true.
Right.
So everything that I've done, it's not just been like I wake up one morning and I'm like, I'm going to go outside and be one with nature, and that's going to define me being one with nature for the rest of my life because I'm doing this one little thing. And it's like, you haven't gone through winter yet. Like, are you going to make sure that your plants stay good? Like, are you still going to connect through nature in winter? Like, I love that it's great that it's building you this thing, but to claim it's a value is in your perfect simulated test environment for your value, and that's where you build your confidence in the values. And if you don't have a solid structure of that value, when real scenarios pop up and you have no control of the test environment and they completely fall apart.
How much do my values actually hold up?
So that's what I keep, that's why I keep saying to you that, like, value and character.
Yeah. On the outdoor one. So maybe for my outdoor value of personal growth.
Sure, I was just using that example because I'm staring at the greenhouse right now. Yeah.
But on that note, I should have been more specific with warm, like spring and summer weather. Yeah. Because in fall and winter, aside from my
there's
plants,
my other kicker. When I'm talking to you is all your values have, like, a value to me is like, it doesn't change regardless of situation. All your values are related to situational situations.
Okay, the value of being outside and grounded, though. So where I stand firm and true to that value is in the fall and winter, I've always enjoyed being outside. I love a good crisp.
Sure, okay.
Whatever. So that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So it's like if I value that, me actioning that every day.
Well, let's talk about like you being like, I want to have a kid, and I can't believe we haven't had a kid. And you said this a long time ago that you can't do that, and you have all these external reasons. Like, but if your value is, I really want to be a mom.
Yeah.
You can have all the fears. But reality kicking in of like, oh, all these things that I'm standing on are all of a sudden falling aside because now I'm scared or I'm worried or I don't know what to do. I need encouragement, even though I claim that I would never need encouragement because that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
They fall apart.
Right. I mean, when I look at, so to structure this episode a little bit, I know it's a natural dialogue that we're having, but to keep it on what you were kind of trying to trail off from last week is, so where are you wanting to go with this? Like, are we wanting to go through and apply a kid to all of my
What
values?
I'm trying to do is, like, it really bugs me that you have these great thoughts of, like, you want to improve yourself and, like, you're like, I want to be better here. And then you have these tools that you implement that I'm like, I already see this is going to fail for you, and it's going to be even harder for you to try again. You have the great, like, mindset behind you, have the great intent to do it. You just haven't broken past that wall of seeing what's not going to work. So when you were late and you were this and you're like, oh, you know what, like, if I am pregnant, there's no way I can have a kid right now because of money, but I don't want to be the person to say, like, okay, we shouldn't have the kid if it comes down to that, Allie. So, like, I know at least I probably have an out with Dan because Dan's going to be like, no, I'm going through work right now. This is going to be there. Mm-hmm. So then I have a reason to go both ways and but I have someone that's backing me up in my decision making. So when what I've said the whole time just is like still that straight through thing, you're like, I literally have to make a decision and be accountable to my decision, being the grown-up in this situation, and now I don't know what to do. Yeah. Because I based all my decisions based on what Dan could possibly say.
Right. Which is why in that moment, when I got that answer from you, and then in the last week and a bit now, I've been sitting with that thinking, like, okay, so Dan's stable. Dan's not changing in his thought at all. And like I said, now the core of what it was I really wanted did step forward. So, I mean, if we're going to tie that back into the whole value things, I don't know, are you looking to, like, again, you weren't trying to be negative, so you said, from last episode. So what scenarios are you wanting to...
No, that was the one scenario. Okay. Like, that was the scenario. Yeah, that was the one thing that I wanted to talk about was, like, you're doing so much work on discovering your values.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to do is, like, kind of have a natural dialogue with you to kind of, like, fully understand, like, okay, the things that you're spending time focusing on right now, like, you're like, you trying to, like, dress yourself. I think you're doing that mentally right now, where you're trying to dress yourself in the way that you want people to perceive it and who you are,
for my
right?
job, yeah.
But what I'm saying to you is all those decisions can be taken out by having one singular value. That's why when I was talking to you the last episode, like, when it comes to relationships, honesty, and you're like, it's such a vague thing. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Right.
Because there's so many people that, like, if my value is honesty, I'm always honest with my friends. So that covers me having to deal with them being an asshole, praising them and being proud of them.
I said,
and like, when it comes to, like, the other one where I was talking, what was another one that I gave the example of?
Oh,
What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave the example of? What was the other one that I gave
I don't know if it was under work and education or personal growth, because I had given 3, obviously being comfortable with outdoors, locally grown diet, and then balance, not having the all or nothing.
And that's
so balance for you covered all little areas. And same with leisure, where instead of saying, music specifically, you're just talking about self-expression and authenticity. And
it's the only thing you're allowed to be selfish in.
Right. And so it doesn't matter what the value is that's specific.
Whatever the goal is or the action is.
Right.
Because you keep making actions and goals and labeling them values.
Well, that's where I disagree with you, because with this worksheet, I tried really hard to have it be something I can't cross off. I can't cross off self-expression. I am self-expressive every day. That's something I value. Having a peaceful environment. I can't just be like, yep, done, because the place looks cool. No,
but whoa. Values aren't something you can check off.
That's what I just said.
But that's what I'm saying to you.
But you're thinking I'm writing these as goals, and I said, but I can't check these off. So it's not a goal. I tried very hard to put things on here that I can't cross off, because what you cross off is a goal.
Right.
I'm writing values. I can't cross off, disconnected from technology. Well, yeah, like just today. But like that's the thing where I'm saying, like, these are things that I value because they're important to me. The whole point of this worksheet was talking about like their leading principles that they guide us to motivate us. Like they're supposed to be like, this is how I want to move through life.
Right.
I want to move through life with peaceful environments. I can't check that off. And I just feel like with being...
But everything that's there, like when it comes to
they're
that
specific. They all can be summed up, like you said, with honesty. They can be summed up with balance. They can be summed up with being a humanitarian. What do you call it?
Right. Humanitarian.
Yeah, whatever you identify yourself as.
Humanist.
A humanist. Sure. For your values, you could just write good humanist, and you've covered every area. The point of us talking about this...
But there's a big difference between saying being a good... Like saying being a good humanist, I think it is about balance, because everything is...
So wonderful. You went from now the biggest of the biggest umbrella, which was being a good humanist, and when we went through this worksheet last week, you broke it down to, sure, a little bit more specific by saying honest and balance.
Right.
But then me, who got a little bit more specific, sure, like
But doesn't that muddy the waters on the values?
No, there's no right or wrong answers in this.
I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. What I'm saying to you is that, like, when you ask me what this is all about, this is the thing that I think that I wish I could better explain myself.
I wish you could too, because I'm not understanding, and I just don't know.
Because you even got mad saying you're using umbrella terms for these things. A value is an umbrella thing.
No, I get that. It just depends on how wide your umbrella wants to be. That's why I said we could have wasted an episode last week by me talking about those 4 areas and you saying, good humanist, but you didn't. You said honest and balanced. You gave me something. I was just sharing with you how mine were maybe little smaller umbrellas. They still cover a lot of very specific areas.
But then but the question for me is... all of the answers to, like, why do you want this value of being connected with nature? Mm-hmm. The ultimate
because it
answer
makes me feel good. That's the only reason. I value being connected with nature because, like you even said, it's tested, tried, and true.
So,
my little tested, tried, and true is...
One step above that was you do the nature stuff because you wanted to spend less screen time.
Oh, that was a different one. That was just the disconnecting. But yes, sure, so they overlap.
Okay.
Yep,
so
they overlap.
100%, which is balance.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what I'm saying to you is, like, you have all these little things that you want to, like, kind of focus on. And I know the way your brain is boxes want to be checked.
So you're seeing them as
that
goals
I'm
again.
saying to you that I think you're, like, putting clothes on before you go to work, super important. Doesn't matter what clothes, like, within reason, but there's so little decisions that you have to make.
No, you're right.
You choose to make those decisions, which add to how much shit you need to process before going out the door with clothes on.
Right, yeah.
So when the goal is just to walk out the door with clothes on, everything else is added stress on top of everything else.
Right.
So when it comes to you wanting to achieve your goal, me giving you the simplest statement of balance with an umbrella is 100% can answer everything that's in that category, where you can just look back. Is this something that is a healthy balance in my life or not?
Right. And I know that
and that's
right now,
where it becomes like the filter. And that's what I think values are. So when it came to, like, us talking about the pregnancy thing, that's where you were kind of forced into this, oh, I don't get to, like, all these other things. I can't decide what little thing I'm going to take value in, because a lot of your values were like little decisions. And I'm not degrading at all.
And now I see actually what you're saying. Now I get it, because like, yes, at this point in my life, I could continue to write pages and pages. I only had so many lines on this worksheet. I could, but to sum up all of them in a lot of those categories is balance. And I think with the whole pregnancy thing, like, a lot of these would, although important and would love to live, the thing that sums them all up as a value that I live by every day would be balance. Because if I was to try and look at it under the microscope that I currently do with all these said values, on top of trying to have a kid, I would burn myself out.
Yep.
But instead of trying to, like you said...
You don't have a kid and you burn yourself out with these things.
I know. Because I like to think that I can do it all. And again, that's not balance.
But that's the reason that, like, I love having these conversations with you where you're being less, because I think every person wants to carve out who they are. They want to be the Courtney drama that is their own Courtney drama, and just have their own decision. And they don't want it to be like, oh, I make this decision because I heard someone else say it. Like, it wants to be their own thing, and people put up walls, and that's where you get a lot of people that hang out in echo chambers and, like, you know, this kind of thing, where I know that all of your ethics, your morals, your goals, your honesty, like, even though you lack empathy like a motherfucker, I know there's a ton of empathy in you. You just don't know how to express it.
I work on that one too.
Yeah. So I know that there's so much qualities in you that are great. And I know that you just get boggled down in the details so much of the time that, like, when you're telling me, hey, these are my values, I don't want to be like, no, these are stupid values. And I hope you didn't take that impression, but I'm trying to, like, take away.
So again, to talk about what I said last week, and I'll say it again, because it is so true about who you are as a person, is that you never make me feel like those little details are not important. You just help me prioritize them. Because if you made me ever feel, and it doesn't have to be you, it can be anybody. This is even like teachers. This is, you know, bosses, family, friends, anything. I love little details. It's what makes me me. I love the fact that I notice, like, this is why I'm also good at this is why I'm me. I love this quality about me, is that, like, when I did your birthday party.
Right.
You wouldn't have given two shits if I did every little detail that I did, but you love it.
Right.
You hate all the stress and everything else. But I think the thing I'm trying to say to you is that, like, you never make me feel like those details aren't important. You just help me prioritize them, because you'll be like, hey, this is your big picture. Here's your balance. Compromise. You always try to get me to compromise with you. And then once we have compromise and all of those larger important things have been done, and sure, if there's time left over, you've always been like, have at it.
Right.
And you watch me meticulous do all these little things, and you probably sit back and you laugh and you're just like, okay, yeah. And, you know, and then I get all, like, flustered and, you know, to stay out of my way. But it's just like, those are the things that if anyone ever took those away from me, like, I don't, like, then that's just not fun. I love the little details. So that's why it's like with what you're saying, it's like that whole pregnancy thing, that was like a moment for me of being like, because again, I did this worksheet before that. So this worksheet was like weeks ago old, but what I've been reflecting on, and you are right, is if I just value balance as a whole, I'm going to cover off every area, and I'm probably going to be so much happier, because if I look at everything from a balance, I'm always going to be kind to myself. I'll have less of that inner critic coming out, because I'll be like, I'm doing the best I can. Like, I'm going to be like my own cheerleader, kind of. I'm going to be like more, you know, stable and happy. And that's why it's like, okay, yeah, like it really made me realize that, like, no matter what happens, like, if the core of who I am, I want to have a kid, all those little details, they'll happen. And they'll happen because I let them happen, and because I made time for them to happen, and because I've given balance in every other area of my life. It's just, those are the things that make me sparkle.
You want to know one of the funny things that I do in my brain to you when we're having conversations?
Which, by the way, for anyone listening who says I don't compliment Dan, that was a compliment. I think we should have a button.
Nice.
Thank you.
So my main thought when it comes to you, and I say this to customers all the time, I'm like, whatever Courtney wants to do when she comes up with something, like, regardless of what it is, anything, I'm like, I believe in her dream 85%.
And I love that, and that's all I need. And
the reason is because I will encourage 85% of that, because the other 15 will never happen, and they're details that you've thrown in that are almost self-sabotaging. because you have to fail in something to feel like you're creating.
That's true.
You have hurdles you have to get past that, like,
Yeah.
when it came to my birthday even.
Yeah.
If I would have let you had fucking free will,
Yeah. Oh,
it would have
nuts.
been fucking insane.
I know. We
So that's
we
why
stopped
I'm
it at a
like,
nacho bar in a little
I was
concession
like,
stand. Yeah.
okay, let's just pull you back to
Right.
85%.
But then all the details that went into that being pulled back. So instead of doing what I was going to do initially, which I don't
are
remember,
accomplished.
I think I was going to do like full circus theme. You pulled me back and I was like, hey, nacho bar? And you're like, hey, cool, nacho bar. But then the details that went into the display of how I set it up, the little banner and everything, and like painting you a picture of like you and the cat, like those are the details that I still got to do when you reined me in.
You would be very...
This is why I
like,
think you and I work so well together with these things, because like I can't help myself with those details, but you just make it contained.
So if you had like 5 things that you wanted to do, and I knew you were only going to be able to do each one of those 5 things to 75% of the effect that you wanted to do it, you would look at it as a complete failure, even though you got 75% done, which is way above of everything else there. But if I eliminated the 5th and you were able to do 100%, you walk away feeling so much more confident and less stressed the next
Actually,
time.
you know what? That's true. Yeah.
That's the way I've always handled you.
And
when
I
it
actually
comes
end
to
up
plan
feeling
things.
good, because typically that 5th thing that you've taken away was like stupid anyways. Like typically, like, and again, that's what I'm saying about prioritizing. You're so good at being like, okay, love that she has all these details of all these things, but like, let's prioritize them. So when you help me prioritize, that 5th thing was the lowest. So if I didn't get to it, but all other 3 or 4 were 100% done.
And if I
I'm
didn't
winning.
convince you that the 5th thing wasn't as important, you would spend the whole time degrading the 4 other things you did great and how shitty it was you didn't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I think we really balance each other with that. So anything else?
Well, like even like right now, the world I'm living in right now with the Courtney that you are right now is, I know for the next month, because we're going away with my mom and 2 of her friends, which is going to be the funniest fucking thing.
Oh my God, that's going to, well, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
So we're actually going to do an off-site podcast episode where we're going to have my mom and Courtney, myself, and one of 2 of my mom's friends, and I really hope my mom's friend, who's the craziest Welsh lady I've ever met in my life.
Loves to smoke weed.
Who loves to
and
smoke
I am
weed.
like 2 weeks without weed now. And I just, oh my God, I don't have a total weed conversation with her. I want to know what she thinks about like weed back in the day and now, and like what does she like,
so that we're going to be doing that, but that won't be coming up till like the end of August. But anyways, so we are packing right now, and Courtney has been past Toronto in her life maybe 3 times. So going up north is going to be very interesting, because I spent a lot of time up north. I've spent a lot of time in the woods. I've done this. So
this
like,
is where my value
even
of
right
being comfortable with
now,
outdoors
like
goes
it's
up.
insane. And like she's spending so much time trying to Google what she should bring up, and she's like, yeah, I need to figure out this. And I'm like, why don't you do this? And it's just right off the cuff of my head, things I already have in my brain.
Though. I'm not fighting you on them.
No, not at all.
Because I'm like, hey, again, this is where it talks about the details. Where I literally asked, I asked AI, because I had a whole other conversation about AI, which another great episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I hate the outdoors, but here I am with my value of being comfortable with the outdoors. So how can I be the most comfortable ever? And I don't like being bit. When I say don't like, who likes being bit? But also I don't like the way in which I'm allergic to bites. And like you've seen me, I welt like a dinner plate welt.
Yeah.
Anyways, so AI created me like a whole checklist. So as I'm going through the minor crazy details with you, you've been so like, nope, just buy this and then that will cover this and this is why.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's so smart. You're adding the actual like functional efficiency to my list.
Oh, absolutely.
This is great. But you're still allowing me to have like the details of it all, just in the smartest way possible.
Because like one of my values is when it comes to like our relationship, like we've talked about it before, and like the fact that we're such an age gap relationship is I need to walk this line of I've been through this thousands of times. I know the answers, but giving you the answers isn't going to help you. Walking you through
And what fun is it in that?
My brain would be a lot better with fucking all the abuse I get.
Shut up. Okay.
Anyways, but it's the whole idea. If you teach a man to fish, you know, like he can live forever. Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, type thing. Where like that's been my whole mentality when it comes to these things. Where I could just scream at you and be like, "Why the fuck are you worrying about this right now?"
Yeah.
And then all that does is make you hyper focus on figuring out that feeling alone.
Right.
And I like but
But also within reason. Like there's so many things that like I've straight up said to you where I'm like, I don't want to think about this anymore. I don't want to have to make the decision. I don't want to have to figure it out. And I ask you just to answer it for me or do it, like with the whole meal plan thing. And you take over and you make dinners. Like, you give me one less thing to worry about. Like, I'm getting better. And you also pick and choose when you're like, oh, fuck, I'm just, because the sake of this, I'm just going to tell her how it is.
Yeah.
And then there's times where you're like, no, she still is learning and wants to learn and grow, and let her figure it out.
Okay.
That's where it comes to the whole age gap thing. But
when it comes to that, when you are told by me, okay, like I rarely do it, but when I like just put my foot down and I'm like, nope, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
What are your feelings behind that?
In the last few years, I mean, you've seen me, I put up less of a fight. So it doesn't bother me.
But that doesn't tell me much, because like I want to like.
Well, what do you mean? Like, I don't feel
like,
any way.
Like, is there an anger?
No,
like,
no. I feel. I mean, there's like the millisecond of like, I don't get to control the situation. Okay, but Dan's right. Like, no, there's definitely going to be in my head the first reaction of like, it wasn't my idea, or it's not going to go the way I want it to go. But I've been with you long enough now that you know my aesthetic. You know how I want things to play out. You're always going to say this is how it is. But again, allow me the creativity to do it in the way I want, as long as I fit in the box of the answer you've given me. So I don't get angry anymore about that. It doesn't bother me. If anything, I feel relief.
You know, you've never done that to me.
What do you mean?
You've never been like, foot down, this is what's going on.
Oh.
I've tried to talk to you. There's never been a time where we've talked about something where I haven't either just been like, okay, that's logical, let's do that. You've never gotten to the point where you're like...
I mean, I throw lots of good ideas at you sometimes.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you being like, no, this is the way it is.
I mean, there's been lots of times in our relationship where I try. There's absolutely tons of times.
But you start there.
That's what I mean. Then you're like, fuck no.
And I've never started there. I've never been like, this is the way it is. I've always been like, hey, what do you think? And I walk up and I'm like, I'm going to be polite and give you the chance to like understand.
You try to guide me by giving me like, have you tried this? What about this? What about this? You come from a very problem solving standpoint. And then obviously because none of those ideas were my ideas, I still fight you on it. And then when you're fed up, you do that. Nope, this is how it is.
Yeah.
But like I said, you pick and choose that, because then there's times where you still are going to help me. You always start off with problem solving.
Right.
And then if you're just like, not my circus, not my monkeys, you're just like, in your head, you're like, hey, you're on your own. Again, unless I fail, how do I grow, right? So like there's pick and choose for you, but you always, no matter which scenario you go with, foot down or not foot down, you always lead with problem solving.
Right.
Of like, how can I help? Let me throw you some suggestions. Where me, again, I think I've tried, I do a lot of the try, well, why don't you just do this? Well, if you just do that, okay, well, we're doing this. And then you either bite or don't bite.
Right.
But you typically are like, fuck you, bitch, I'm smarter.
Right.
So, yeah, no.
And I'm also, one of my terrible flaws is like, people are like, this is what we're doing. I'm like, nope.
You actually, your go-to is have fun with that.
Yep. Have fun with that.
You never stop me, but you're like, have fun with that. I'm not a part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, there's not really a lot that I ever demand. And like I said, then if anything that I have said that comes across like an idea,
right?
Because I am trying. I'm not
100%.
I don't always not come from a problem solving standpoint. I do sometimes. The way I deliver it is very, why don't you just do this? It comes from very telling,
right?
Versus like we've talked about this before, where you're like, can you try like be more asking? Yeah. Like you're like, you never ask me questions, so I'm gonna try to shift my why don't you just do this to more of have you thought about this? Because sometimes when I do say things that are ideas to you, you're like, that was a great idea. I'm like,
a lot of the times when it comes to those situations, I think you're coming at it as the question you're asking because you're so frustrated, you're modeling the question to get the answer you want. Like, so if you come at me with attitude because you're frustrated about whatever and you just want to blow off some steam, you're going to come at me with attitude knowing I'm going to give you attitude back, which allows you to...
I do try to come at that with a lot of reverse psychology. Yes. Very much of like, I'll ask or say something in a way that is opposite in hopes that you'll say the opposite, which is really what I wanted initially.
Yeah. How good does that work for you on me? It doesn't.
No, I can't think off the top of my head, but I know there's been a couple of times where I've tried it as like a way of coax. But then even then, I think when I do try to do it, and I feel like in my head, like, yes, I won, he picked my side. You already made up your mind that you were going to go, because you like, there was nothing wrong with what I said.
Yeah.
So even though my approach was this weird reverse psychology to get you to actually go in the way that I'm trying to lean you to go towards, it wasn't, the way I'm trying to lean you to go towards wasn't a selfish, negative, or bad thing that you were already on board. So even though in my head I'm like, I won that, you were probably fine with it from the beginning.
I can think of one example in closing. There'll be times where like, oh yeah, like I'm going up to my parents on Sunday, and you'll just leave it as just that, okay? And I know I don't work that Sunday. And then like on the Thursday, you'll be like, yeah, I'm going up to my parents, you know, like, but I'm thinking that like if you want to just stay home, you're going to be working Saturday night, you know, you may be tired, you don't have to go. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was going to go. I just assumed because I wasn't working that you'd want me to go. So yeah, I can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I want you.
And then you're like, And it almost seems like you're upset that I'm like, yeah, okay, 100%. Like, I already had the decision made, but like, you were like almost planting something.
I know,
like you wanted to pick a fight.
Like, can you just come up to my folks and, you know. Anyways, that's funny. Well, this was a good episode. I think we should go make some babies.
Yeah, stop it. I'm glad that, like, I know this whole thing started with like the values thing, but I'm glad you kind of now have a better understanding of where I see values.
Yeah.
That like, I know that like, I can understand where you were coming from, where you thought my answers were cop-out answers, like just broad statement cop-outs, where like, what I was trying to do is like, the reason that it works is because it's such a broad thing that everything can just get thrown back. Like why? Yeah, simple. Why overcomplicate?
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay, love you. Goodbye. You've just listened to and finished Canada's own podcast, Dialog Over Drama. The amazing music we use in this episode is provided by Allegories with their song Pray, and Jesse James and the Medicine Show, I Think I Just Lost My Mind.
Nice!